Hello everyone and welcome to today's remote healing session. Please take note this is a group session, so we have a number of people on this healing session. So some of the information may relate to you, some may not relate to you, but take whatever information comes and see how you can feel into it or how you can make it your own. Now I've done some of the work already just to prepare. I have set up a healing grid for us, which is right next to me. I actually put it on the floor because I'm going to be using the universal pendulums today and I need that space. So let's quickly just show you what we're working with. Yeah. So I've set up the grid for you guys, and this is going to be the setup that I'm going to be working over. Now, what you won't see on this grid is the sheet of paper that I've placed with all of your random 8-digit numbers. But this is the setup that we have here today. This particular layout we call a vortex layout, and each of those positions will relate to different body parts or systems. And so today's session is going to perhaps take a little bit more of a physical approach, but through all that, there is also the more spiritual and metaphysical information that comes through. So just having a look at this specific grid that we've got set up for you today, I'll start with 12 o'clock and very briefly work my way around. And I'm not going to say much about the different frequencies and energies that's on the grid, but it will give us an idea as to what we are percolating over here. So the top section over here, this is the awareness card and it's connected to the brain. So this is to bring more awareness of our conditions and our issues, and whatever it is that you need to have to your awareness needs to come to the surface. And it's actually quite appropriate that this is sitting on the top of the grid, because that is sort of the individuation point or where the energy comes in. Next up, we've got the clearing card. This is associated with the respiratory system. So the respiratory system is obviously your breathing and how we breathe, how we take in oxygen, how we take in abundance from the universe, and how we release what no longer serves. The clearing card is all about clearing what no longer serves. So let's get rid of all the stuff that's not needed. Then we've got the heart card or the ebb card on the cardiovascular system. And the cardiovascular system, heart, I think this is a very obvious connection, but what's not obvious usually is the way that I get this vortex alignment in place is that I've got about 27 cards that I'm working with, and I dowse to see which one goes where. And while I'm placing them, I don't analyze which position I'm at or what card I'm placing. So I think it's quite interesting that the heart card came to be in the cardiovascular system. Next up, we've got the circulatory system, and this is the heart, the lungs, all the blood vessels and veins and arteries, all of that system, the entire circulatory system is here. And we've got the second card over here, which is about power. So it's about bringing power to the circulatory system so that we can get more energy into our lives in general. Next up, we've got, where are we now? So I've got my notes on the side here as well. Next up, I've got here, which is the detoxification system. And this is the protection card that's sitting there. And so the detoxification system is how we get rid of toxins within the body. So the protection card over here is helping us to protect and strengthen our detoxification system so that we can get more energy and also be more balanced and in alignment with where we want to be. Next up, we've got the immune system, and we've got the card called Rin over here, which is the true name. Interesting combination over here with the card and the positioning. So the immune system here, which will tie in with the detoxification system, is how we can strengthen our immune system and build that strength in general. Now, we've got here the true name. Now, in what you may notice here is we're using a lot of Egyptian symbology. So this is based on Egyptian hieroglyphs and Egyptian mythologies and systems and healing facilities. And so in Egypt, the true name is your secret name that is given to you at birth, and only your parents and the priest would know that name. And it was believed that if you knew someone's secret name, you could control them. And so in this day and age where we are, I think there's a lot of control happening through media, social media, radios, televisions, etc., etc. And what this card is saying is that we can claim our power back by coming back to our own true name. Now, we don't really use true names anymore in this day and age, but I think on some deep level, we all have a true name, whether you know what it is or not. And this is then tied in this particular location here with the immune system. So it's bringing us back to our immune system. If you can come to your core and to your inner strength and power, and you know your own true name, then you can have a strong immune system, and you can also be strong in general. Then we go down to the reproductive system, and this is the union card. Again, it's like the heart card. It's a sort of a lucky coincidence that the union card would go here on the reproductive system. So here the union card is talking about bringing balance to masculine and feminine, bringing balance to your giving and receiving. Your reproductive system would also be associated with the base chakra and sacral chakra, both of those associated with your safety, security, finances, and all of that. So this is bringing balance to all of that. Then we've got go over to the next one, which is your urinary system, and we've got the eternity card here. So the urinary system is also, it ties in with your detoxification system, and also with the immune system, and with the lymphatic system, which we're coming to soon as well. And this is to remove toxins and move things that no longer is serving. So the eternity card here is streaming backwards and forwards in times, not just in this life, but in previous lives, future lives, parallel lives, and it's wanting to clear and release what is no longer needed there. The urinary system would also be your bladder and kidneys, and this would store fear. So I would interpret this as we're tracking backwards and forwards in time to release fear from the system. Takes us over to our lymphatic system, and we've got the water card over here. So the water is about flushing out, clearing out, cleaning out, bringing new information, higher frequency information as well, and being more in tune with the universe. The lymphatic system is our drainage system. It's our plumbing system. So we want to release and clear our plumbing system. Autonomic nervous system, we've got the car. This is your vital life force energy. And so the vital life force energy is allowing us to step into a higher frequency, a higher balance. So the car is normally associated with the astral body as well. And so on the autonomic nervous system, this is all the nervous system related things that happens automatically. So it's almost like if we're not in alignment, we are beside ourselves, we're standing next to ourselves. So what the car is doing is it's bringing us back into our bodies through what we going through here with whatever stress situations we are working with. Then we go over to the structural system. And again, another apt one over here. Oh, I just see a pattern. Another app one over here, which is the Earth card, and the Earth brings that structure and stability and safety to our structural system, which is our bones and ligaments, tendons, and all of that. And the pattern that I'm noticing here is that all of these three cards, the three cards that sort of looks almost like they were planted here on purpose, is actually sitting in a downward facing triangle. I find this quite interesting. And we're going to be doing a macabre balance today. So I'm going to just have a look at what's sitting in the downward facing triangle. It could be that that one is more stable and that we need to focus a little bit more on the upward facing triangle, but we'll see how that goes. And then the final card that we've got is your endocrine system, and we've got the breath card here. So the endocrine system is all of the glands within the body. And with the breath card, it's a reminder to breathe. And so perhaps a little tip for today is throughout this session is to do conscious breathing, breathe nice, slow and deep, and know that as you breathe, as you exhale, we release toxins. As you inhale, you bring fresh energy in. In the center of this layout, I've got three cards stacked on top of each other. You can't see them, but there's three. And I've got the divine masculine, divine feminine, and divine child. And I'm going to be using those as a balancing factor within whatever information comes up. Okay, so that is the vortex that we've got sitting in the background, and let's move on to our next order of business. So I'm going to do some dowsing and checking as I go along, and this is just to see that we are on track. So I've got my chart here. Let me just get myself organized over here, see the chart. I'm just checking our switches as a group. We're good. Central vessel is good. Hydration. Hydration is not good. So I would say everybody take a sip of water or a glass of water. We are working on an energetic level over here. So water is our conductor. So let's take a sip of water. Pause if you need to. Ionization is good. So let me just mark it. We've got hydration that's indicated over here. Okay, so the vortex that I've got here, this becomes sort of our goal for today's session, our focus. And when I tuned into what came up in relation to an emotion to this, the emotion that came up is destructive. And the destruction or destructive energy it's in relation to the fourth ray, which is our ray of harmony and conflict. It's a yellow ray, if we're looking at the rays. So we need to look at where are we destructive, or where are we being destructive in relation to harmony and conflict. So just feel into that for yourself, what that means. If you have to, just pause the video to just do that. The dimension on top of this is beliefs. So this is how are our beliefs being destructive when it comes to our harmony and also conflict. So we're looking at both sides of the spectrum, the harmony and conflicts. So just tune into that and see what that means for you. I've checked in already stress levels just on the general group level, and the stress level here is 75%. This is general stress in relation to this system that I've got set up at the moment. The life energy that we've got to give towards stepping into fullness and wholeness is at 13%. So hopefully with today's session, we can clear that and lift that a bit higher. We've got a sabotage online, and our sabotage is I am not embarrassed, or I am embarrassed. You'll need to see how you're going to make that connection with our setup that I've got here with the cards and the vortex, also with your own individual focuses that you have for yourself. And then our emotion associated with the sabotage is affair, and it's in relation to recognition. Now, affair doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have an affair with someone. Affair could be something that is set up. It could be the current situation that you're dealing with. What is the recognition that you can get within this affair? And how does this relate to embarrassment? How do you feel embarrassed? Do you feel embarrassed? Don't you feel embarrassed? Many times when it comes to our healing, we don't want to admit something. We don't want to tell people or let people know what we're struggling with. We're feeling embarrassed about that. So again, just tune into that for yourself and see how that relates. I'm going to skip this a little bit. I don't need to talk about that. So let's get going with the universal pendulums. So I'm going to do a macabre activation as I mentioned today. Again, take everything that I've mentioned and think about that, maybe make a few notes and just allow that to percolate. Just for those who don't know, the macabre pendulums that I'm using is the universal pendulums. So they're quite big. They come in a black one, and there's a white one. And each of them's got different frequencies and ratings on them, and they've got some batteries within them, more batteries or cells. And I've already checked what frequencies I need to use with each of these, and so it'll just speed up today's session a little bit, so I don't have to sit and douse extra within each story. So what I want you to do is drop into your heart space. Just take a deep breath in and out, and just tune into your heart. Get a sense of what it feels like within your heart. from your heart, send a connection down into the heart of the earth, all the way down into the heart of Mama Gaia, Mama Earth. And see this connection from your heart to the earth as a ribbon or a string or a cord or a line, whatever is appropriate for you. And just see how this connection anchors into the heart of the earth. Perhaps even feel how that cord is pulling you down towards the earth and really settling you down in your chair, or whether you're sitting, standing, or lying. Now from your heart, send a connection up to the heart of all that is, God, Source, whatever is appropriate for you. And feel how that connection pulls you up towards Source while you've remained firmly grounded and planted on the earth. You may even imagine that your body is being stretched and you're feeling more elongated. So I'm tuning in to the Merkaba at the moment. I'm just checking what the current flow of prana is within this group, Merkaba. It's sitting around 47%. So we're not quite high up where we would like to be, but that's okay. We will get there. The emotion that we come up with, this is again, we're just activating and tuning into the Merkaba field, which is that energy field around our bodies, around our auric fields. The emotion that comes up is misled, and it's in relation to strict. This could be you misleading yourself. It could be you misleading others. It could be others misleading you. And strict is that sort of strict way in which this is happening. So it may be that you know that you're being misled, or that you know that you're misleading others, but there's something, almost it feels like standing behind you holding the whip, and it forces you to do this misleading. Just tune into that. If you feel that you do not connect with misled and strict whatsoever, then that's okay. Imagine what it would feel like if you were to feel misled in relation to strict. And so while I'm busy with that, I want you to just keep focusing on misled in relation to strict, just setting up the pendulum. And I'm going to go ahead and clear the blockages that we have around misled and strict. And this is any blockages that you may have within the Merkaba field. So while the pendulum is spinning over here and doing its thing, I'm working on the electric frequency. So this is our electric bodies. And I'm on the second octave of the system here, which is to do with the mind and emotions and mental emotional levels. I'm working with lunar white pendulum. So this is the more young related energy, which is the more active energy. And the color that's coming up is indigo. Now, indigo is a sedation color. It is also used for transmutation of energy. Really good for pain, alleviates pain. And what it does is it contracts energy. So interesting that we would get indigo right now. Normally I get indigo further towards the end, but it could be that the energy is too big or too strong for some of you, and we need to just pull the energy in a little bit, and we need to sedate the energy a bit. And this is on the mental emotional level. So it could be that the emotions and the mind is maybe running around crazy at the moment, and we just need to pull those in to bring some quiet. Okay, pendulum just got to a stop. Okay, so let's move on to our next one. I'm working with you. Okay, so our next frequency, there you go. We're working on the electromagnetic field. And we're working on the 3rd octave. So this is the physical level. So we're adjusting the energy flow for the Merkaba field now, just to bring that into balance. And this is because it's on the 3rd octave. Usually it takes a little bit longer. It's got a big spin to it right now. The radiostatic color we're working with at the moment, and is doing quite a big swing over here, is orange. And so orange is about waste and purging. It's about elimination. It's really good for clearing the kidneys, bladder, and also the colon. And if there's any spasms, any muscle spasms, it's really good for that. And in general, a good heart tonic. So yes, just allow this one to spin. You're still focusing on the emotion of misled, and it's in relation to strict. Remember to have conscious breathing, nice and slow and deep. And perhaps just see what comes up for you as I'm working with this spin. So for me physically, at the moment, as this is going, I can feel tingling going up my back. And what happens is it gets, almost it feels like it's getting stuck here in the back of the neck. So some of you may have a little bit of a throat chakra blockage, or something to do with communication. Oh, that's easing now. You're shifting down a little bit into the shoulders. Could be that I'm holding the pendulum and it's quite a big one, but I would just read into that. So the shoulders would be about burdens we carry. How do you feel burdened? Could be burdened by not speaking up. Okay, well, the shoulder is relaxing, it's releasing. It's a little bit more in the neck and the throat. So you may want to take a deep breath in and then exhale with a ha sound. So you go, ah. You can either sing it or you can go like a sigh where you go, ah, ah. Or you can just let it tone out. And we'll quickly look at what's happening with our prana flow at the moment. That shut up quite nicely. Looks like about a 92%. Okay, so I'm just going to check the activity of the Merkaba. This is in general. Looks like about a 34% over there. And the emotion that came up when I dowsed earlier is exhausted, and it's in relation to behavior. So many times we behave in a specific way because we believe people expect us to behave in a specific way. When we pretend to be who we're not, that can be very, very exhausting. So the more you can behave in a natural way for yourself, the less exhausting that could be. So again, focus on the emotion of exhausted in relation to behavior, and just feel into what that feels for you or what that means for you. And while you're busy with that, I'm just going to check the upward facing tetrahedron activity. It looks like about 40%. Our emotion that we have over here is intimidation, and it's in relation to approval. So where are you working for approval, and where do you feel intimidated by approval? Perhaps you're working too hard to receive that approval, and that could be the intimidation that you feel. Okay, while you feel into that, I'm going to check the activity for the downward facing tetrahedron. That's at 25%. That's quite low. When we look at the vortex that I had, the Earth, Heart, and Union, that was so perfectly placed, that would be in relation to the downward facing tetrahedron. So the measurement here is much lower than with the upward facing tetrahedron, which was at 40%. The emotion that we have in this tetrahedron is miserable, and it's in relation to learning ability at school. So here we have to go right back to school times. I know for myself, I had a miserable time at school. I really hated school. For me, just it was pointless. What is the point of learning all of these things that we're never going to use? Plus the fact that I was bullied and all of that. So for me personally, I know that I've got a charge around learning abilities at school. How many of you would have that same feeling when it came to school? I'm sure you would have. For the ones who didn't enjoy school, you would find that when you leave school and you go study something that you really love, all of a sudden that learning ability shoots up. You get good marks and good points. But again, just feel into miserable in relation to learning abilities at school, because as a child going through this, you would be affected by that. And those patterns that you develop back then, you pull through and you use in this day and age still. Okay, next we're going to tune into the heart space, and the emotion that came up here was defiant, and it's in relation to who others think you are. So perhaps others see you as being defiant. We've got an interesting one over here then, because earlier we had exhausted in relation to behavior, and also intimidation in relation to approval. How do these ones connect with each other? Where are you defiant? And what is your reasoning for being defiant? So this is happening in the heart of Amakaba. And while you're tuning into that, I'm just going to set this up so that we've got our frequency that we're going to be working with. We're working with the electromagnetic frequency, and we're actually working with quite an interesting energy over here. We're working with negative green, and we're working on the first octave. The first octave is in the spiritual level. Now, negative green is not something that we want to have running for a long period of time. I'm just going to go, and it is in the spiritual level, so it usually will go quite quick. But the negative green is a spiritual carrier for energy and information. And what it does, because of the frequency, it really shakes things up, and it releases blocks that we may have. So it also balances polarities that you may have. And if there's any stagnant energy on the spiritual level here, it would release that. And we're working with the lunar black pendulum, which is a more yin energy, so more feminine qualities. I'm just allowing this to spin. Quite a frequency coming through here. Just take a deep breath in and anchor that. If you feel at any point that you get a little bit shaky or feel a bit dizzy or weird, just remember the connection from your heart to the heart of the earth and your connection to the heart of all that is. And then just nice, slow, deep breathing. Okay, let's check the polarity, the overall polarity over here for the Merkaba. So the polarity on the, let's start with the positive. That goes on to a 30%. Let's go polarity for the negative. Okay, so we're sitting about, it's a pretty balanced polarity. We've got a 30 in the positive and a minus 70 in the negative. So obviously leaning over a little bit more towards, well, quite a bit more towards the negative spectrum. Let's check the percentage for the upward facing tetrahedron. It's sitting at 50%. So I think in general, it's actually quite a good balance, even though we are leaning towards the more negative side of things. With the upward facing tetrahedron, the emotion that comes up here is deserted, and it's in relation to normal birth. So, wow, this is the big one. I mean, normal birth, this would be people who were birthed naturally, so not with cesarean, but I guess what is normal? So I would just read this as birth in general. How did we feel deserted at birth? Now, most of us can't really go back and see what we felt like back then, but I'm sure if you are ripped away from your mother's womb that was nice and cozy and comfy into this hectic world, it could be quite a stress. So how would you relate to deserted in relation to normal birth? I'm just going to scan through. This is again the general sessions. I'm just going to in general scan through to see if there's any blockages, tears, or damage or dense energies within this upward facing tetrahedron. Okay, when I tune into this energy, we're supposed to see an upward facing tetrahedron, so a triangle that looks like this, but the sense that I get feels more like that. And so the energy in the lower part of the tetrahedron feels like it's depleted. It's being pulled in and contracted. So my base chakra feels like it's getting really, really tiny. And then the shoulder part gets really big. So there's a flip in the polarity here. Also towards the beginning of the colon on the right-hand side, there feels like it's a bit of a tension over there. The colon is for us to release. It could be that there's something that we're holding on to that we're not wanting to release. So if you feel any of these similar symptoms of sensations, just allow yourself to feel them. Don't judge them or anything like that. Also tune in for yourself and just feel if there's any blockages or tears, damage, or densities that you feel within this. I'm also getting back of the head, and it feels more like a tingle, but it feels like almost like a tingling wall that's in the back of the head. And in general, it feels like my body is being pushed forward. So I'm not going to read too much into all of these, but we're going to do a clearing and dissolving on that. We're working with lunar white pendulum again, and I've on the electric frequency spectrum, and we are on the second octave. And the energy we're working with here, the radiostatic color, is black. So your black is divine power. And this is a very purifying energy that we're working with over here. Very good for cleaning. And what it does, it clears and cleans other radiostatic colors. The second octave, as I mentioned before, is the mental emotional level. So on the mental emotional level, we're doing all of that clearing now. It's very good for detoxification. Absorbs any energy that's no longer needed here. And black is also associated with the yin frequency, although we're working with the lunar white, which is our yang energy, so it brings us that balance with yin and yang. Okay, turn my incense over here. We're going to infuse with light, and we're working here on the magnetic frequency. Let's get my spot right. And interesting enough, we've got a good balancing point here with using ultra white. Okay, and we are on the third octave. So this is a continuation of the divine power and purifying and cleansing energies. This is more on a physical level with our third octave. Interesting enough, this is actually looks like it's going to finish its spin quite quick. We are working with quite a high frequency energy. Okay, that's done. Look at our downward facing tetrahedron. I'm looking at the flow percentage over here. Also at 50%. Okay, emotion that came up over here is secretive, and it's in relation to friends. So the secrets that we hold in relation to friends, how does that affect us? How does that affect your well-being, your life, and how you interact and act with people? We're working with, before we do that, let's scan you. Just quickly scan through to see if there's any blockages, tears, or any dense energies within this downward facing triangle or tetrahedron. Okay, this is quite similar to what I had with the previous one, in that this tetrahedron also feels flipped, in that the triangle that I'm feeling is it feels really tiny on the crown and then it goes down to feel wider, and similar sensations to what I felt within the previous tetrahedron, but I almost feel them in reverse. So the tingling that I felt at the back of my head, I feel now along the base and sacrum on the spine. It still feels like the body wants to move forward in this one. And in this space, the heart center feels enlarged, but at the same time, it feels like it's blocked or it's padded on the front side. And then a similar feeling to what I had on the colon, in the starting point of the colon. I'm feeling a similar one, but on the back of the left side, which would be just as the colon goes into the sigmoid colon. So that's your release point as well. Okay, so let's clear and dissolve the energies in this tetrahedron. We're working with the magnetic frequency. I'm working on octave 1, and I'm still working with lunar white, and I'm working with the radiostatic color of violet. And violet is all about regeneration, revitalization, transmuting energies, and it's also a very purifying energy. First octave is the spiritual octave, so we're working on a spiritual level here to release and clear and regenerate. As I'm working, I can actually feel how the pyramid or the tetrahedron is shifting so that it's going in the right direction. Okay. Next, we're going to move over to the next pendulum. So I'm going to infuse with light. Okay, we're working on the electromagnetic spectrum over here, and we're working with ultra white. Interesting that it came up again. Ultra white. And this is also on the spiritual level. This is infusing with light. This is our divine power that we're bringing in, that purification energy. Purifies all of the other radiostatic colors. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's check our overall balance with our Merkaba. So I'm looking positive. That's set to 100. Let's look at the negative. And that's also at 100. So balance over here has been restored. Let's put my notes in here. Okay. Look at the upward facing tetrahedron. That's at 100. Downward facing tetrahedron. Also, so that nicely balanced. Okay, just close your eyes, take a few deep breaths in, and imagine a beam of light coming down. Remember, you've got your connection from your heart to the heart of the earth, and you've got your connection from your heart to the heart of all that is. Imagine that that beam of light goes all the way from the source through you and around you, all the way into the heart of the earth. Allow yourself to have this column of light as big or as small as you like around your body. And just scan through this column of light and see if there's any obstructions, blockages, damage, or dense energies. Don't have to analyze or translate or try and be analytical about it. Even if you just see, oh, well, I see a little black spot here, I see a little density over there, that's okay. Just observe. There's no judgment over here. We're just having a look. The emotion that came up in relation to this is caused, which is not really an emotion, but we'll have to look at what the secondary option is. And it's about archetypal roles in life. So this would be like mother, father, child. So the big roles that we play, king of your castle, queen of your castle, the fool, one of those archetypal roles. What do these roles cause in your life? What does it cause you to do? What does it cause you to experience in life in general? And you may find, so still focusing on that column of light, you may find that an idea or a concept or an archetype pops up. Perhaps something that you never thought of before, or something that you are aware of. And we're just wanting to see, what does that cause in our lives? While you're busy with that, I'm going to do our pendulum healing. So just focusing on whatever archetypal role comes up, or perhaps even a number of them comes up, and how do they affect you? We've got ultraviolet coming up over here as our balancing. Working on the first octave, so on the spiritual level, and on the electromagnetic frequency. Just keep focusing on that beam of light as we are clearing and dissolving any of these archetypal roles that no longer serve. So the UV that we bring in, ultraviolet, this is really good at deactivating yin energy. So where we've got too much yin energy coming in. Very good for pain, also repairs the DNA. And it helps us to get a new perception on things, expands our mind. We are working on a spiritual level over here. Okay, clearing that. Next, we're going to infuse with light. The color that's coming up is silver. And this is on our third octave, so on the physical level. We're working with the electromagnetic frequency. So we're infusing with light right now, infusing with the frequency of silver. Silver is really good for purifying toxins and strengthens our bodies, strengthens creative power, helps us to implement our plans or get in alignment with our sense of purpose. Also at a physical level, silver is really good for boosting immune system. Almost done. There we go. time. Close your eyes again. Become aware of your Merkaba around your body. So imagine you've got a upward facing triangle and a downward facing triangle. So it's sort of a triangular pyramid. One facing up, one facing down. And if you see them straight up, it looks like a Star of David. So a 6-pointed star. Now the triangle pointing up, allow that one to start spinning. And that's going to start, it's going to spin from your right-hand side to your left-hand side. So just imagine that that upward facing pyramid or tetrahedron is starting to spin right to left, right to left. So it goes around from the front, from your right to your left. Just allow it to spin slowly at first, just so you can get the hang of that. Bring your focus and your awareness to the downward facing tetrahedron right now. And that one is going to spin from the left to the right, left to the right. So it's around the front, left to right. You may want to just focus your attention only on the downward facing triangle and the spin. And then when you feel that you can handle both, see if you can spin both at the same time. While you're doing that, I'm going to be working with the pendulum. And we've got ultraviolet coming up. This is on the 3rd octave, so on the physical level, on the magnetic frequency scale. This is to repair the DNA and release any blocks that we may have. Keep focusing on those spinning pyramids. You have to expand the mind, alleviate any pain in the body. Keep focusing on the spinning of these two tetrahedrons. Upward facing one going right to left, downward facing one going left to right. Nice, slow, deep breathing. So with the eyes closed, still seeing these two pyramids rotating and spinning. Just in your mind, repeat after me. Create a bubble of energy around, which will filter all energies coming to me, so that only the energy that will pass through will be divine love for the greatest good of all creation. Thank you. Okay, still focusing on those two spinning tetrahedrons. I'm going to get the next frequency in. We're working with our lunar white. We've got silver coming in, and this is on the 3rd octave. So we're sending a layer of protection in our Merkaba field. Keep spinning, so keep seeing those two pyramids spinning in opposite directions. We're busy building that protective layer around now with the silver frequency coming through. Strengthening the Merkaba, purifying and releasing any toxins. With your eyes still closed, still breathing, still focusing on these two tetrahedrons spinning. Just in your mind, repeat after me. simplify all messages that I receive from my soul so that I can understand them better for the greatest good of all creation. Thank you. Going to do our connection now, working with our lunar white pendulum, and we're looking at gold frequency on the second octave and on the magnetic frequency. So focusing on that connection, any messages that you may receive. The gold is a regenerative energy, very good as an antidepressant, purifies the mind, removes any negative thoughts, and also strengthens our willpower. Keep focusing on that spinning. You may want to have these pyramids spin faster and faster as you go ahead, and as it feels more comfortable. Nice, slow, deep breathing. With your eyes still closed, still focusing on the spinning. Repeat the following after me in your mind. Bring in abundance of light, love, laughter, and joy into my life, so that I will always have everything that I desire with ease and grace for the greatest good of all creation. Thank you. Focus on that, and I'm bringing in our next frequency. We're looking at platinum on the electromagnetic scale, and it's on the second octave, which is mental emotional level. The platinum harmonizes the body and spirit and the soul. And it brings us as a human being into alignment on a divine level. So it allows us to tune into our own divinity. And this is on the second octave, which is your mental emotional side. Keep focusing on those spinning tetrahedrons. Perhaps even see that beam of light, the column of light that stretches from the heart of the earth to the heart of all that is. Focusing on your breathing. That's complete. Your eyes are still closed. You can slowly open your eyes. Perhaps wiggle your fingers and toes a little bit. Back into the space. Willing to benefit, be responsible, and accept changes. Conscious, subconscious, body, physical. Okay. So we're going to do a little exercise now. And what you want to do is you want to stretch your eyes in the different directions. So we're going to basically imagine you've got a big clock in front of you. You're going to look up as far as you can, just with your eyes, and then look, I wouldn't even say go up, diagonal up to the side, diagonal down to the down, straight down, diagonal down, side, diagonal up, and then you reverse, diagonal side, down, chung, chung. So imagine a big circle in front of you, and you want to stretch your eyes in all these directions. While you do that, we're going to use some emotions that we're going to clear. and you're going to be tapping on the mastoid process, which is this bone here behind the ear. So if you take from your earlobes to the back, you'll feel there's a little round bone. You can just tap there. If you want to get it a little bit more focused, you can take your ring finger and thumb together and then use index finger and middle finger to tap. So this is our emotions that we want to just focus on. Tap behind the ears and go. We're going to be working with the emotion I feel numb. So you're going to keep repeating I feel numb all the way around. I feel numb, 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 I feel numb. Wanting to benefit, be responsible, accept changes, physical, emotional. Okay. Another emotion. You can pause if you need to just complete that first. Our next emotion is responsive. So same story. We're going to do the eye rotations, look in different directions while we say, I feel responsive. Ring finger and thumb together, tapping mastoid process. I feel responsive, 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 I feel responsive. I feel responsive, 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 I feel responsive. Going to benefit, be responsible, accept changes on emotional level, mental, essential. Okay. Last one. This is unimportant. It's the same thing. What you may find is that your brain starts getting all muddled up and you can't say the sentence properly, or you can't look in the specific direction as all good. What we're basically saying to the brain by looking in the different directions is we're accessing different parts of the brain and saying, if this emotion of numb is sitting in any parts of these, get rid of it. It's not important. Let's chuck it. And our next emotion is unimportant. Okay, so ring finger and thumb together, tap, and I feel unimportant. 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 Right. Look at our stress levels right now. That's sitting at 20%. Life energy. Life energy looks like it's about 83%. So if we just look back at what we had when we started, our stress levels were at 75%. Life energy was at 13%. So huge improvement over there with our stress levels. Okay, and then finally, I have dowsed to check what aurosoma we can focus on. Aurosoma bottles are quite interesting. They give us color, and there's essences and all kinds of things in there. So I'm just going to share a screen over here so that you can see which one I'm looking at. And there we go. We're looking at balance or bottle 50. And this is associated with Almoria. And it's about our readiness to live life. And it's about being in harmony with the greater whole. That's sort of the main theme for this particular one. The dominant characteristics of this particular bottle is someone who's a pioneer, someone who is living in harmony with purpose and fate in their soul, and usually with a great talent for communication. Someone who's got a clear mind and who's able to detach and easily and consciously move into or access the subconscious. Now, this is not something that everybody may be able to do because we may be sitting within the challenge aspects over here. So this is, in the negative aspect here, this is people who need care and nurturing. So this is a group session. So I would say that we all need care and nurturing. This is also about seeing the negative aspects of life. So this is about people who are more cynical, and so they tend to flip more towards the negative. I always say, like, if you think a negative thing, like if you expect something bad to happen, then if something good happens, then it's exciting, and if it doesn't, then you don't get disappointed. But I mean, that's the type of thinking that keeps us in the negative space. And what we want to do is we want to move out of that and into a more positive way of thinking. On a spiritual level, this particular bottle is all about getting spiritual inspiration, being in alignment with your life purpose, and knowing that God's will and your will are actually one. There's a unity with them. So this is really is what having strong faith. On a mental level, this particular one is about balancing the male and the feminine aspects, or the masculine and feminine aspects, and it's to bring clarity and general balance. So I think we can all do with a little bit of that. On an emotional level, this is about peace and self-forgiveness. And it's also to release any blockages, and it's really good for speech and communication. And the affirmation associated with this particular bottle is, "Thy will be done through me. Thy will be done through me. Thy will be done through me." Okay. So just as a finishing off, we've got some homework coming through that I've asked for already before I started the session, or the recording at least. And the support or the homework for you guys is color therapy. So color therapy can take any form. It could be just wearing colorful clothes, perhaps dowsing or checking in with yourself what color you need to be working with. Wearing clothes, it could be working with crystals and gemstones. It could be working with colorful lights. See what feels good for you. See how you can bring color therapy into your life between now and whenever I ever see you again. Another support or homework that you will have is fungotherapy, which is about taking a mud bath or a mud mask. So face clay, like a clay mask or a mud mask. So perhaps that's our pampering, that we need a little bit of a face mask. I think I'll be doing that one. I can do with a little face mask. And by doing this color therapy for yourself, and the mud therapy, what you're doing is you're anchoring and grounding in the healing that took place right now. Because we're working energetically, you may not have felt things in a visceral way, but to get the color going and the mud masking going, you say to your body, "I've heard what messages you've given me, and I am listening to you, I'm hearing you." So I hope this session finds you well, and I hope that you have a good experience with this, and that you have big shifts that happens for you in the next few days. So that's it from my side, and I'm sending you lots of love and light. Take care.